Hey everyone, it's Jonathan, and welcome back to Every Version Ever. Today, my guests are Sam and Jenna of the Curiouser Archive, and our conversation is going to be very different than any podcast I've ever done before. We're going to be talking about lost and missing versions of Alice in Wonderland. Lost media is something that I've been interested in for years now, ever since I discovered it was possible for movies and TV to just completely disappear. I guess when I was a kid, I probably just assumed that everything was recorded and saved with purpose, kept in some studio vault somewhere. I had no idea that things could deteriorate past the point of being watchable, or just be completely destroyed or misplaced or never found again. And then when I started looking into versions of Alice in Wonderland, I discovered that there were a lot of versions that were now just completely lost. And since getting to know Jenna and now Sam, I figured it would make for a really interesting discussion to talk about all these missing versions. There are a lot of missing versions of Alice in Wonderland, which I didn't realize when I started doing this whole thing. But then I started looking into more because on IMDb, there's listings for random 1950s televised versions,
Yep.
and you can't really find much info about them. And I think on Jenna's blog, there was other ones where I think she just had them listed as missing or lost. And I've always been curious about those. Like, what are these? Why can't we watch them? So since you guys are the experts, I guess we'll just talk about all of the ones where none of us can actually watch.
Yeah, and I think it's also kind of interesting to discuss these things because it's kind of important for the preservation itself in case somebody does have information about where a copy might be. You kind of have to spread the information about it for that to help. Though some of these are probably just gone forever.
Yeah. It's also interesting if we ever get pictures or really any fragment of these adaptations.
I love
because
pictures.
Sometimes stuff like that is out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got these all written down in order, from the dates.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with the earliest one, which I guess you just had titled Theater Parade.
Yeah.
And it says all we've got is pictures. So what do you know about this one? This is from 1937.
So this one was probably performed live. Probably wasn't recorded because Kinescope, they were testing recording TV back then, but it wasn't a definite thing. You know what I mean?
This was very much in the early years of television, or at least the early years of television when it started becoming widespread. Was a BBC production. I believe it was a theatrical production.
Yeah, it was a theatrical one where they just basically recorded it. It was also weird because it's it was actually 3 productions throughout the year.
Right. They performed it 3 times throughout the year, and it was basically performed live on television.
Okay.
Was the first one Looking Glass?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, my thing wasn't showing up. I had to refresh it. Yeah. Other than that, there's not much we know about this one. We do have some pictures. The one where Ursula Hanray is at a table with the kitten, I just stumbled across that on eBay. It was in an auction, so we're kind of lucky to get that one. And the others are so tiny. I don't know where they come from. There's only one decent big sized one. I do kind of like how the March Hare just has straw and he doesn't have ears.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll try and have for people just listening on the podcast, I'll try and have these pictures in the video version. So if you go to YouTube, some of these that we're talking about, I'll try and include in the video.
Yeah. Other than that, that's really all we know about this version.
The other thing that's interesting is that it was produced by George Moore O'Farrell, and he produced a couple of other BBC adaptations later on as well.
Yeah, he likes Alice. I liked Alice. Anyway, so that's all we know. All we really know is apparently it was done with great success.
Okay. Well, the next one after that is 1944. And all we've got is some pictures left from that one as well.
This one is interesting because you might be aware of, oh my gosh, I'm going to butcher her name. Eva Gallian? Oh my gosh. I butchered her name. I know I did. Sam, do you know how to say it?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I usually say Legalian, but I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah. Well, she's the one who like kind of had her own Alice that she staged multiple times. But we do have some recordings of her in those productions. So like 1955 Hallmark and 1982 Great Performances, as weird as that one is. So 1944 was actually the first recording of this kind of Alice, except for she wasn't in it. So we kind of do know what it was like, at least. Other than that, it looks like a really small production, and it supposedly had television special effects, and
Right.
it's interesting. I wonder what special effects they had.
Right. This one aired on a local TV station, WRGB, in Albany, New York. Don't know if it aired anywhere else, but that's where it was produced at least.
Yeah. Probably not existing anymore if it was recorded, but I doubt it was because it sounds like it was a really small thing.
Probably. Okay. I feel like we're lucky to have the pictures that we have of it, honestly.
Yeah. I like how Alice looks. She looks, I don't know, for some reason it kind of reminds me of Dorothy.
I can kind of see it, honestly.
Yeah. And then we got some horrifying masks, so that's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those
masks
old
pretty bad.
Yeah. These are pretty bad masks. Trying to think. Would these be the worst masks? And they're still better than 1933.
Only barely.
Yeah, sometimes with a lot of those older ones, there's a lot of questionable costume choices.
Yeah, that's kind of just how it is.
On the big picture we have to the left, there's like a duck. And I don't know, it reminds me of Donald for some reason. It looks like the Donald Duck, like the early Donald Duck costume. I know it's not because this was before that, but still. Just like, it's Donald in Wonderland. So what great insight that I bring.
I am always going to see that now.
You're welcome.
That seems like it should be a cartoon they should do.
It kind of was a cartoon they did, but Donald in Math Magic Land.
Yeah, I remember that. How much of that was Alice inspired, though? I feel like it was just the title, wasn't it?
No, there's a lot of it that's Alice inspired.
Really? I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, I recommend it. I don't think the whole thing is Alice, but they do have like a chessboard and him walking kind of in a Wonderland area, and he's even in an Alice dress at one point.
Interesting. Maybe that could be the subject of a podcast someday.
Yeah, might as well.
Maybe we could do some like Disney Alice inspired things.
Yeah,
there is a lot of Disney Alice inspired things.
There are, yeah. Yeah, we could talk like about Adventures in Wonderland too, or
Through the Mirror.
Yeah.
Through the Mirror. Big Alice comedies, even though that's kind of like barely related, to be honest.
That's worth a mention in something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of tossing back and forth the idea of doing something with that too, because I have a friend who's into like really old Disney stuff, and I was going to see if he was interested in talking about it. If not for this podcast, then the other podcast, because I do a Disney series on the other podcast too. But that one is one I would like to touch on, and maybe I could do it one way for one podcast and another way for another podcast.
Sam actually found didn't you find a rare one?
I've got a bunch of rare ones that I actually got from a film archive. I was collecting Disney shorts a few years ago, so I think I've got most of the Alice comedies that are still in existence.
So I mean, hit him up when you do it.
Yeah, totally. Be happy to pass them along.
They're in another language, though, aren't they?
Yes, the ones from the film archive have intertitles in Dutch, although I do have translations for them as well.
Okay. We got enough topic. I think that's all I have to say about 1944.
Yeah, there's just not much that we know about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of going to be a theme here.
I kind of wondered, especially with some of these that don't even have names, like the next one, all we have is pictures and the year 1946.
So this was a BBC one, and it's actually George Morrow Farrell again. So the guy who did 1937 did this one. And that's all we really know. We have a cast list, and that's it. We also have a really bad picture of Alice in like a lawn chair.
Yep.
And
That sounds super book accurate.
yeah, totally. Well, I guess they had lawn chairs like that.
Well, I'm guessing this isn't an actual photo of the production because like you can see a camera to the left of her in the picture. So I'm guessing this is like a photo off the set.
Mm.
Well, I don't know. Like the camera's pointed at her. I think this, and it looks like she's in a garden set.
Oh, that could be.
That is part of it. And I say lawn chair, but it's more like kind of the traditional kind of lawn chair, like not like the plasticky kind. And I believe they did have those in Victorian times, but it is still a little odd looking.
Yeah, and that's literally all we have.
Yeah, we have like 3 different versions of this picture, and they're all like not great.
Yeah. They're taken from like different newspapers and magazines.
Yeah.
This picture apparently got published quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's the only picture I've been able to find of it, and I haven't been able to find like the original, so it's all been awful.
Yeah.
Well, you probably with that have more information than on the next one because all it says is just some info for the 1948 version. So you don't even have pictures to look at for that one.
Right. This was another BBC version.
BBC liked Alice a lot.
Yeah, especially in this time period. It seems like they did Alice a lot in like the 40s and 50s. I believe this one included some Wonderland and Looking Glass stuff, just judging from the title.
What was the title?
It's also on Christmas. Oh, the title is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. Very comprehensive title. It was adapted by the Herbert M. Prentice play, which I don't know. I don't think that play has been recorded actually, like in an adaptation.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I haven't been able to find any pictures of that one. When I try to look for it, I get 1949.
Yeah. I think possibly the other reason we have so many BBC versions in this list is just because we know about them. The BBC has done a very good job of making their listings from back then available to search through and look at, whereas for most companies, that's not really easy.
Yeah. I mean, there might be other like British productions that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm. At least you know they exist, because with a lot of like old BBC stuff has been erased. Like they would have recorded it and then they erased it to use the tape again. So
so that's a possibility with this one, I think. I just looked it up, but when were kinescopes in use at the BBC?
I think it would have been around that time, so it's possible that this one might have been recorded, but who knows?
If it
was, it doesn't seem to exist anymore. At least it's not listed in their catalog anymore.
That wouldn't surprise me, because there's a lot of stuff lost from the BBC's archives because they didn't save it.
I mean, that's the case with most companies from back then because they just didn't see the stuff as valuable.
Yeah, reruns weren't a thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. This one actually was reran. It has 2 dates, December 25th and then again on December 30th. Now, a lot of times when these old, like the earlier television programs we're talking about would have repeats, but they'd be done live too.
Right. And that was kind of the way that reruns worked a lot of the time back then. They would actually get the actors back in to perform it a second time.
Yeah, like, that's why a lot of them were like theater productions because of that. Because they already knew the play and could do it, they did it again a lot.
Right.
So this one's kind of curious though, because that could, if it was recorded, that could be the kinescope airing and not a live redo, but I'm not sure.
Unfortunately, we don't really know. There's no record that really tells us which way it was.
All right. I think we can move on to the next one, which...
That one's 1949, Through the Crystal Ball. Is that a show?
Okay, so this one is my favorite one of the missing Alice.
It's definitely interesting.
It's interesting. So it was kind of a weird, it's kind of experimental for the time period ballet program. So they did multiple they had done multiple stories at this point. They were trying to like use television as a new medium instead of just like having, stage productions. They were like trying to, and then you just have the actors walk on screen, and they're trying to like use the medium of television differently, if you get what I'm saying. In particular, there's a quote, because we have some quotes about this one. Somebody involved in it, Pauline Koner, said, "This is television," they said. "There are no side wings. You can enter from above, the corners, or beneath. It was a revelation. I put a ladder outside the camera focus. A dancer jumped from the top and entered from the top of the screen with a magical effect." So it was a bit more experimental. And we also know that not the full Alice story was adapted. They did like scenes. So it has the entry of the White Rabbit, where Alice shrinks, the Mad Duchess and her unfortunate baby, the Cheshire Cat, and the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, the croquet game, and a trial scene. And also this had Bambi Lynn as Alice, who was she was well known for playing Alice at this point. She'd done a lot of stage productions, particularly of Galleon's Alice. And she was also like a really good dancer. Unfortunately, this is like her only like recording, like visual recording. I think there is a record player with her doing Alice. But she was like, that was her thing. She played Alice a lot. So it's kind of a shame that the only like visual recording of her being Alice is gone.
Yeah. This was actually recorded back then,
Yes.
but unfortunately, as far as we know, the recording was lost.
Yeah. But it might still be out there. And this one I kind of love because it has Arthur Treacher as the Cheshire Cat. And I love Arthur Treacher. If anybody knows him, he's mostly a butler in films. But apparently he played the Cheshire Cat a lot in stage Alice's. So he did this, and he also did 1955 Alice as the Cheshire Cat too. Both costumes are ridiculous. So we have a picture of him in costume meeting with a visiting celebrity. Like the man in our pictures is not in the production. His name is Dan Duria. I don't know him. I guess he was a big deal at the time. Not anymore. And Arthur Treacher is a Cheshire Cat, and he's like wearing a clownish costume. It's the most ridiculous costume.
It really looks awful. I'm not sure what the deal was with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he played it magnificently, though. I would love to see him in this too. But he does well. I think he did well in 1955, even though he was basically wearing a statue. His Cheshire Cat like comes across as more like no nonsensey, but in kind of a ridiculous way. And I don't know, I kind of like it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I assume he was similar here. And then we have a picture of the Duchess, but it's a very tiny picture. And Bambi Lynn with the baby, and the guy's gonna spank the baby.
Yeah. Pretty weird picture, but yeah.
The weird picture. Also, it's like obviously just a plain toy doll, like not a specialized prop, which I guess fair enough. I guess we can kind of see the background. It looks drawn. In one of the quotes, it does say like the guy asked the background artist for like Tenniel looking, which is weird because they have the Cheshire Cat looking like a clown, which is not Tenniel. But
yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, so I would love to see this one. If anyone finds it, give it to me. Thank you. I need more Arthur Treacher Cat.
I thought it was Treacher.
Treacher. Creature. I have a lot of problems pronouncing things.
In my head, I don't know that I've ever heard it said out loud. In my head, I always said Treacher. So I don't know. I suppose it could be either way. The English language can be confusing sometimes.
It's the butler, dude. Okay, next one.
Next one is Ford Theater Hour in 1950.
Yeah, so this one, is it in the archive? I think
it is. I believe the University of Georgia has a copy of this one, of all places. They have a 16 millimeter kinescope.
So this one exists, we just can't watch it.
Yeah.
Unless you physically go there. I actually emailed them a long time ago, and they said they can actually screen it if you make an appointment in advance.
Huh.
So anybody in Georgia, go ahead.
Interesting.
Maybe we should go there, Sam, just to see this. It's like, have you been to Georgia? Yes. What did you do? I saw the Alice. Anything else? Nope. Yeah, so this one, I don't know if it might be in other archives. I think possibly David Schaefer, who was kind of like the Alice adaptation collector before us. He might have had a copy because he had it listed in a list of adaptations in the annotated Alice, but I don't know for sure. Maybe he didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. If he did, it wasn't in the collection that he released.
Well, he basically only released what we did because we asked.
Yeah, I know.
We literally asked him to release the public domain ones like 1931 and 1915, and he did it.
Yeah, at first he was kind of apprehensive about it, but eventually he did it, which was great.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And I talked to him a little bit. He's passed on. I kind of wish I talked to him a little bit more.
Same.
And it seemed like he just, because when we met him at Alice 150, and which was like a celebration of 150th anniversary publication of Alice. And he was having a film screening, and we saw 1910 there for the first time. And you have to keep in mind at that point, we had no clue what 1910 looked like, really. So we were just like, we need to get this.
I mean, we actually sat there in the theater with our phones recording the thing, and that was the first copy that went up on YouTube.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? We might as well approach him and ask him if he could release it. But we were into Alice adaptations, and he was like mind blown. Like, other people are into Alice adaptations? Like,
yeah, it was kind of amazing because it seems like very few people in the LCSNA are really into adaptations.
They're not really at all.
That's so weird. Why wouldn't they be?
For some reason, they just don't run in the same like, because we know people are interested in them, but they just don't join the society. They talk about like book collecting and stuff like that. And
yeah, they're more into that than like film and TV adaptations.
If anything, they'll collect like 1933 stuff because I guess they like 1933. You know,
that's kind of an odd one to have as your favorite, but I guess.
Well, they have a lot of rare merch, I think, for 1933. So when you get something from that, it's like, ooh, you have the crayon set. Yes, there was a crayon set.
1933 had a ton of merch. Too much, if you ask me.
Too much. It's not fair. 1972 should have more. But yes, they had a lot of merch.
Yeah. In terms of Alice merch, it's number 2 by far.
Yeah.
Of course, Disney is number 1.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they had like a painting set, a board game. The only thing they didn't have was a doll. Anyway,
that seems
actually
like something that they should have had. That's like the most obvious thing.
I would actually try to collect a Charlotte Henry doll, even if I don't like that Alice that much. But I'm sure it would be even more expensive than my big 1972 one back there. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. 1950. So this one was also kind of weird because Life sent a photographer out to take pictures of it, and they kind of like did some surrealistic things with the pictures. But I don't know. It looks like a pretty standard one, but I do really like how Alice's Pinafore is scalloped. I think that's really cute. Other than that, the animal masks are pretty bad. And there's not much else you can really glean from it, I think. The picture of Alice dancing with the rabbit's kind of cute.
Yeah, I think Alice looks really cute in this one. The animals,
Yeah. And also I think the person who played the White Rabbit, Dorothy Jarnack, she was also the choreographer. All right, and that's all we know about that one.
Okay.
So someone goes to Georgia, tell us what it's like.
Yeah, please.
University of Georgia? Is that what you said?
I believe so.
Okay. It's somewhere in that state.
Yeah, it's definitely in Georgia.
That would be an interesting trip. Well, the next one is 1951, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Hecht, Hecht.
Yep.
Yeah, we just call it that to differentiate it from the Disney one.
Yeah, this one's really annoying to try to research because it's the same year that the Disney version came out. And there's almost nothing that we know about it. We know it was directed by Bernard Hecht, probably pronouncing that wrong. And we have a comment that called it, quote, probably the first French TV movie, most certainly in the form of a film theatrical show. Of course, whether that's actually accurate or not, we don't really know. And we have a picture. That's it. Just because of the year, this one's almost impossible to research.
Yeah, that would complicate it.
It's also kind of hard to research things in different languages in general. At least it is for me.
Yeah, same here. But the year really hurts for this one because normally I would try to look through newspaper archives around the time. But if you tried to do that with 1951, you just get dominated by Disney stuff.
Yeah, because it was big in France too. So
yeah.
And that's the other confusing thing. If it really was like France's first televised thing, what did they say? Probably the first French TV movie. You think there'd be more info on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have almost nothing.
Yeah.
We don't even know who played Alice.
Maybe it's in a French archive somewhere.
Maybe. That would be neat if it was.
It's possible. I mean, you never know.
I do think the set in the picture looks a little interesting. And Alice's dress kind of looks like tulle. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Tulle.
I think it's tulle. I think it's pronounced tulle.
Yeah. Yeah, like the kind of like what ballerina dresses look like. And that's kind of interesting. Also sleeveless. I like that cute little table. The brilliant commentary brought to you from me. And that's it.
Not much else we can really say about it.
If anybody who knows French and can research a little bit better and find a little bit more info, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, that's it.
The next one, there's actually 3 in the year 1954. Yeah. The one, it just says info. That's all we've got is just some information, not even pictures.
Yes. This is actually the one I found the night before that Disney World trip when I couldn't sleep. Don't know too much about this one either. It aired on WOR TV, which was a TV station in New York City. It was part of a 3-actor dramatic series, quote, called Spotlight. And that's about all we know. It was apparently an hour-long teleplay.
But yet it was airing on different nights.
Yeah, it aired 5 nights in a row, but it was an hour-long teleplay. I don't know how that worked.
Next one is just called Children's Newsreel.
Okay, so this one is also BBC. So this one is actually probably just a segment. From the looks of it, it's probably Mad Tea Party. And it was probably to promote a play that they were doing at the time. And we have some pictures of like promotion for the play itself. Oh, and also there's a picture of Alice with a hideous animal costume thing.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know if that's supposed to be a cat, like the Cheshire Cat.
I honestly can't tell what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And then they have a photo with her like wearing the Mad Hatter's hat. That's kind of cute.
Yeah, that is cute.
Okay, it's a cat. Just looking at the other photo. I have no idea who the girl is behind Alice. Yeah, and then also what's funny was when I first saw these pictures, I was like, she's not wearing her pinafore, but it looks like, because there's another picture in a magazine, looks like she just didn't have a pinafore in this version. And that's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last one from 1954 is the London Festival Ballet.
Yes, so this one was also a stage production. So 7 scenes, a lot of roles looking at it. There was a skunk, apparently. Great.
Sometimes it's interesting just what these companies add to these Alice's.
Ugh, this is a stinky Wonderland. Sorry, just being dumb here. They had like a whiting lobster, mother and baby squirrel, father and baby owl, a robin. So I mean, it definitely was a production. There's not much else we know about this one, though.
It was another one that aired on the BBC.
Yeah. I think Alice, her costume is really sweet in this.
Yeah, it is.
The lobster, I think that's the lobsters. I can't tell what the ladies are supposed to be, but I like it.
I mean, it is labeled as a picture of the lobster quadrille, so, but I don't know what the ladies are doing there.
I don't know what they are. but it's kind of like a Victorian aesthetic thing going on for whatever they are. So I like it.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And then like the rabbit kind of looks like he's going to masquerade. I kind of like it. I kind of like that vibe.
It's unique, that's for sure, and certainly interesting.
Yeah.
Would be interesting to see this one.
I think this one aired on BBC, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah. But I haven't seen any mention of it being preserved.
Yeah, I don't think there's an entry for it in their catalog, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this one might be gone, which is a shame. I think it looks good. Wait, one more thing. Why is the Cheshire Cat at the Mad Tea Party?
Good
In the FLF
question.
photo. Yeah.
I never noticed that before, but yeah, that's a good question.
Somebody time travel and tell me. Maybe it's kind of like a Disney situation where the White Rabbit's suddenly at the party.
Maybe.
Cheshire Cat's just like, I want to join in.
They wanted to give him more scenes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Because, I mean, it is a ballet. Oh, wait, he's with the dormouse. Maybe he's trying to eat her.
Okay, that would be hilarious.
It's actually a little bit clever. It feels a little Disney-esque a tiny bit because you remember Dormouse like, cat!
Yes.
But they actually put the cat in. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, this would be a really interesting one to see.
Yeah. Well, when we get a DeLorean or a TARDIS, we will get it.
If anyone knows how to get one, please let us know.
You're
I saw one
supposed
at
to
the Iowa
develop it.
State Fair a couple of years ago. I think it was just made of wood, though.
Ah, darn.
We need a
I mean,
working one.
The TARDIS is made of wood anyways, but I think this one was just made
It
of-
wasn't bigger on the inside.
No, I don't think so.
Of course, the Doctor would get really annoyed with us going back in time to all these different dates just to get Alice's.
What if we convinced him it was like to save Earth? He'd probably be really annoyed still.
I don't think he'd believe us.
Depends
not
on the doctor.
stupid.
Depends on the doctor. I think
Hmm.
I think I could get Matt Smith to go with it.
You think Matt Smith's a Carolian?
No, I think he's a little goofier.
Hmm.
The first doctor would probably kill you. I love the first doctor, but you would. Maybe the second doctor might go for it. Especially if he said, like it has a lot of great music. He likes music, right? He plays like a flute thing. Third would probably karate chop you. I don't know about fourth.
I'm pretty sure we'd be kicked out and probably wouldn't take too long for it to
Well,
happen.
he'd probably be bored, but he'd also probably just give us jelly babies before kicking us out. Fifth, maybe he might go for it. Sixth, no, he would. No, I have no idea about seventh.
7 maybe. He kind of had a personality change. I feel like he got more serious. So maybe maybe for part of his tenure as a doctor, he would have been okay with a weird adventure going to collect old Alice's. Then things got too serious. And
he did have a question mark umbrella. But then again, I'm kind of like, wait, Colin Baker had a ridiculous coat, but I think his doctor wouldn't go for it. But then again, he does have a companion that makes him exercise on a sports bike, so put up with that. And then drink carrot juice. Never mind, maybe we can work on him.
I have not seen enough classic Who to get involved in this discussion.
9th and 10th, though, I don't think they would go for it.
Probably not. No.
And then I'm not sure about 8th. 8th might.
I don't know. He only had the movie, and I haven't heard any of his audio dramas, so I don't know much about his personality.
He's a Victorian gentleman. If we can convince him, it would be very important to another Victorian gentleman. Maybe. Of course, though. I know that's really dumb. Because if you asked Lewis Carroll if getting all the versions be important to him, he'd be like, "What's a TV?" And all right, sorry. This was a very important discussion, but it's time to move on.
The most important.
This is the strangest rabbit trail. Okay, next one. 1956, and that one I don't even have a title written down for that one, so there must
Oh.
not be a whole lot known.
Oh, we have a tiny bit. I love this one. We only have one picture of it, but gosh, I love this picture. The White Rabbit's makeup. I admit it's a little scary, but it's also really impressive. I love it. It's like Michael Crawford's rabbit's dad, and it looks a lot like the Michael Crawford's rabbit, doesn't it?
It actually kind of does.
Yeah, and I assume that's the rabbit hole behind them, but I don't know. So I really want to see this version. I think it looks like I think the makeup looks really good for a TV production in the 50s.
It really does. It's actually kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was also another Herbert and Prentice adaptation play. And it's still pretty much all I know. I mean, we have like the cast and crew list, but none of them really jump out for me as being special.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Oh, wait, newspaper mentions John Glenn Jones, who did the 1948 Alice as well. But anyway, so this one was probably recorded, but there's no mention of it in the archive.
Yeah, and again, it's yet another BBC version.
So
they probably taped over it.
They probably did, but that said, I mean, Doctor Who episodes have been found at affiliates of BBC, so
yeah,
maybe
that's true. You never know.
But don't.
I wonder how much of that is they're finding them because people are specifically looking for them.
Yeah, definitely.
So if this one does exist out there at some affiliate station, I feel like the chances are small for finding it because people aren't specifically looking for it.
Yeah, it's actually kind of amazing how much stuff is actually out there, but nobody knows about it because nobody's tried to look for it. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people used to believe that 1910 Alice was lost. And yet we know of 3 copies of it that are out there.
So I wouldn't be, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if with the Doctor Who stuff, they did find other BBC stuff and it just kind of like no one cared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Yeah. But definitely the Doctor Who stuff is being purposely looked for. So it's difficult.
Yeah. A lot of people are looking for that stuff. So that's honestly a large reason I think of why that stuff tends to get found.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure though, if someone did find like BBC stuff and it had Doctor Who and they told BBC they found it, that they found other stuff, BBC would be like, hell yeah, we want.
Oh, I'm sure.
All of it. Yeah. But hopefully, so maybe one day, probably not. Don't count on it. But if we do, we'll be blessed because I want to see that rabbit talk.
Me too. And I'm also curious about the other characters, like if they also went for such costumes like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them will probably be horrifying. This is early television, but it's still, even if you think this is a horrifying rabbit, it's still a big step up from previous animal characters and Alice's before this. Yeah,
no question.
The next one is 1960, called Adventures of Alice.
Yes, this is another BBC one, and this one actually exists in their archives. I don't know why they've never released it.
Huh, okay.
So this one exists, yes. Go storm BBC and steal it. This one is an opera, though, with puppet scenes. And I've never seen a picture of the puppet scenes, so I don't know how bad or good they are. I probably wouldn't like it, personally. I'm not into operas.
Me neither.
But I think there are at least two other opera versions. I still haven't watched either of them, though.
Yeah. Well, we just watched Young Suk Chin earlier, and to be fair to that one, yeah, to be fair to that one, the stage production is horrible that they filmed. But I still wasn't really that into the music itself.
Yeah, same here, pretty much.
Okay, looking at the cast list for 1960, the only thing I've seen that's interesting is they have a character called Creature with a Long Beak.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it's a creature with a long beak, apparently, but I guess they couldn't decide what it is.
Okay, and that's all we know about this one. I think Alice, she kind of reminds me a little bit of the Jonathan Miller Alice a little.
I was just thinking that looking at the picture, like she's got the same sort of
somber expression. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one was also re-aired later. It was re-aired a year later in August.
Right.
And okay, the animal costumes look bad. The Hatter looks really good.
Yeah, Hatter looks good. The rest of the animals, not so much.
Yeah. Also, Dormouse, like the top of the Dormouse costume looks separated, or are those his arms?
I can't tell.
It's a bad picture.
Good question. I can't tell from the picture.
Maybe he's
Okay, it
wearing a
looks
shirt.
like one part is his arm and he's like this, and his other arm's down. So yeah, his costume is separated for some reason.
Interesting. Yeah, I see what you mean, but I don't know what to make of it.
Or maybe he just gave him a shirt.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
That's what you're seeing. I don't know.
Maybe they did give him a shirt because the March Hare is dressed like a person. Oh well. BBC, obviously what we need to do is see this Alice so we can tell for sure.
Yes.
We need to know if the Dormouse is wearing a shirt. Let us
Very
watch
important.
it.
It's very important.
It's the most important thing. So if you work at the BBC, please get this thing released.
But it's such a shame because they could have put this as an extra on any of their releases.
They totally
Yeah.
could have. Like 1966, this would have
Yeah.
gone perfectly on.
Yeah. And it is kind of curious because it's like right before 1966 too. So that
Uh-huh.
would have been a really good extra. But I mean, it could have been on 1986, could have been on 1973.
Yeah. They had plenty of opportunities. I don't know why it hasn't been done. I mean, there might be some explanation, like rights or royalties or something, but still,
That's
you'd
true.
think they'd be able to find some way to do it.
Yeah. And I can also see why they wouldn't release it by itself because
Me too. I
What
can't
they
see
need to
too
do
many
is-
people wanting to buy a 1960 opera, but it could totally be on an extra on one of the other ones.
yeah.
They need to release like a box set or something, or just a DVD that has, or Blu-ray that has all the versions that they've ever made.
That would
I
be
would
cool.
love that. I'm actually
sort of-
annoyed because they made 1973 and 1986 match, but not 1966. I'm like, how dare you?
Yeah,
If you're
I
gonna
mean,
do
I feel
matchy
like
matchy, do it with all of them.
I feel like they kind of tried to put those together as a set,
Yeah, they did.
and I guess 1966 doesn't really fit in with that.
Yeah, they don't want it to fit in. But if you're an Alice collector, and I'm just saying, as an Alice collector, it would make more sense to do a set of the three of them, and they look the same.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. I hate
Yeah.
it
That'd be
when
nice.
sets of things don't all match.
Yeah, collectors like matchy things. It's just science, and
Yeah.
they should just do that. But I don't think they're ever going to release 1973 and 1986 again. They didn't do very well.
Yeah, and as far as I can tell, they've only been released in the US as well, which seems really weird to me.
Yeah, that is weird. I forgot that. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say for that one.
Well, after that is another one from 1960,
Yeah.
Alice Through the Looking Box, which I can only imagine is their way of saying TV, but trying to be cutesy and make it match with Through the Looking Glass.
Yes, this was one where she actually goes through the TV.
Before
Unfortunately, doesn't
1966 Hanna-Barbera.
yes. Unfortunately, doesn't exist anymore. I've actually contacted the company that has the ABC archives, and it's apparently not there.
Huh.
I didn't know you contacted them. Well, that's sad. Because it sounds amazing. For a plot synopsis, because obviously this is not a faithful Alice. It says Gianni Carson plays Alice, a little girl who goes babysitting for Mr. and Mrs. Ray. I don't know why it's important to have their names. Apparently it is. Mislaying the baby, she has to step into the TV screen to look for it. Characters she meets there include Humpty Dumpty, Cheshire Cat, Caterpillar, Duke of Larkin, March Hare, Mad Hatter, and Dormouse. And apparently a 20-foot high TV screen has been built to shrink Alice to convenient size. So there's actually a picture. I don't know if this is the TV, probably not the TV screen they're talking about. I think this is a manipulated picture, but I think it's actually really cute of Alice and the White Rabbit outside the TV screen, and you see the Mad Tea Party and Humpty Dumpty on the screen.
Yeah, I think it's a really cute picture, although I suspect it was made just for this magazine.
Yeah, I think so. It's a good magazine cover. We have a picture of her with the book. Picture of her with the Mad Hatter and March Hare. March Hare is interesting because he's just wearing like a headband with ears.
Pretty much.
And like a bunch of loose straw.
I mean, the White Rabbit's kind of the same way. He just sort of has a hat on.
Yeah. And then we have one, the the very last picture that looks like a photo frame. I actually found that on eBay. Somebody was selling the picture. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford it. But I was like, they must have had a good time if they framed a picture of it. It was from people involved in the production, and they like underneath the photo, I think there were signatures. So you could see like the Tweedles and some people with hearts on them. I guess the cards. Alice is petting the rabbit on the floor for some reason, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's all we have of this one.
That's about it. This aired on ITV in the UK. It was produced by ABC, Associated British Corporation. No relation to like ABC in the US.
Okay.
I do kind of wonder if no, probably not. I was going to say, I wonder if Hanna-Barbera was inspired by it, but
I'm
was
guessing
UK.
likely not, because this was
Yeah.
a UK production.
Mm-hmm.
We're also not sure how faithful it got when it went to Wonderland, because the pictures look kind of faithful when she's in there.
It's really hard to tell with something like this.
Yeah. There is somebody with a guitar in that last picture, so
I feel like this might be an interesting one to see if we get the opportunity.
yeah.
Well, the next one, did we talk about this one already?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about it again or not.
Well, we
can
can
skip
mention it. This is the
Yeah.
BP Super Show from 1962. And this is the one where we saw some clips, but as far as I know, that's it. So I guess, do we have any other information we can talk about? Or
No, not really. I mean, we pretty much talked about it already, unless Sam has anything to add.
I don't think I have anything to add from what you've already talked about.
Okay.
Besides that, it is in a private collection. Just reiterating that.
Yeah. So this one exists.
Right.
We just can't
Yeah.
watch it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess at least we have clips. Better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is 1966, the Channel Niners.
Yeah, so this was an Australian Alice, another Australian one. And it was around Christmas, and Pixie Hill starred as Alice. That's all we know. And it was part of like the Channel Niners Club. So, and it was on Channel 9. So I assume it was like a teenage thing, maybe. I don't know. Or a kid thing.
I'm guessing maybe
Okay.
a kid. This was like a kid's program.
Yeah. We do have the one picture, and Alice looks like she's wearing a very cheap party wig.
Pretty much. In fact, all the costumes here look pretty cheap, which isn't surprising if this was like a kid's program.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm suspect it was done very low budget and quickly. The Hatter kind of
Probably.
makes me think more of the Walrus, to be honest. With the-
I thought he
No.
looked kind of like Groucho Marx or something.
yeah. So that's the thing, and unfortunately, that's all we know about it.
Yep.
The next one is 1971.
Oh my gosh, this one's weird.
Yes. This was a theatrical production by the Stella Adler Players, and honestly, that's about all we know. It aired on PBS, at least in Maine. It was apparently aired on the Maine Public Broadcasting Network. I don't know if it was aired on other PBS stations.
And we have the one picture, and it looks like a thumbnail of a video. So it is in an archive, right?
Yeah, it does exist in an archive.
And so our one picture is a very weird thumbnail. It's kind of agonizing to me because I'm like, I feel like I should be able to just press play. It looks like a randomly generated thumbnail.
I'm pretty
My
sure that's
hand is
exactly what
here.
it is.
Yeah. And it looks really weird.
Yeah. It's in the American Archive of Public Broadcasting, and I'm guessing that they just automatically generated this one screenshot.
The awful screen.
It's very weird looking.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, I could kind of see Alice talking to somebody, and I don't know who the woman's supposed to be.
I can't tell.
Yeah, I can't tell.
It has very weird things around her eyes, like sort of like
Yeah.
circles, but I don't know. It's odd, and I can't tell what's part of her costume and what's part of like something behind her, because there's like this square thing, and she looks like kind of like she's painted to look like some sort of a modern art piece, but I can't tell if that's because of the two pictures superimposed together or not.
Yeah,
I agree with
unfortunately,
you.
this shot is in the middle of a transition, so that makes it kind of hard to make out what we're actually looking at.
I think the squares are a backdrop because you can see them behind the guy.
I think so too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I get the kind of like abstract experimental feel from this too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I think maybe Alice is standing behind her because, like, I can see her
Yeah, it
shoes.
is. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's Alice. It looks like she has a very long like apron or pinafore on. Or maybe she's just wearing a long dress and that's her petticoat I see sticking out under. Anyway, it's like, what an awful image to have. But it's also interesting though. We got a lot of discussion on it.
Well, I'm pretty sure nobody picked out this image. I'm pretty sure this was like randomly generated by some program.
You would think that seems like a weird thing to like just put out there as like the image to define your piece of media.
Yeah.
To me, this woman, whoever she is Stella Adler, and I don't care because I don't care if she is or not. But she's in this thumbnail. She's like the dominant force. So now she is Stella. All right, so that one's weird, and Sam recently found that too.
Yeah. I actually found this one when I was looking for more information for this video.
That's what I mean. Sam just like randomly finds these things.
I told you I find them when I'm looking for something else entirely. I don't know why. I never find what I'm looking for.
Okay,
Well, the next one we don't have anything for beyond some information is from Thames Television. I'm assuming that's like the
yes.
Thames River.
Yeah.
It might be a British thing.
Right. Thames Television at the time was like the biggest ITV station. So this aired on the ITV. Don't know if it aired everywhere. It was a set of 12 episodes that was kind of aired throughout 1973 or like the early part of 1973.
Yeah, January to April.
So this was a series. It wasn't a movie.
Yeah, it was a series. What I also find kind of interesting about this one is it's the same year as the BBC Looking Glass. How funny it is that they, yeah, I think didn't Looking Glass, wasn't it like 100th year anniversary? When was Looking Glass? 1971, 1972? See, I'm not the Alice expert. Anyway, I guess that's why, but that might be why this one like completely overshadowed it, because I did like originally find mentions of this, but I thought it was just BBC, so I threw it out. And I think it was Sam who like found something that was like, no, this was something different.
Yeah, I mean, we have synopsis for most of the episodes.
Except for the last two. But I think we can assume what they are. And they were only 15 minutes.
Yeah, and we only have 3 of the cast members. I actually talked to someone who's kind of familiar with British television at one point, and they said that this might have just been like Cyril Fletcher, who's listed as Lewis Carroll here, reading the story, and then the other 2 girls kind of acting out some of the scenes, but who knows?
Kind of neat.
From what he told me, and I forget who I was talking to who told me this, this sort of stuff was done on British television for children quite a lot, and there's often not much record of it. It often wasn't even recorded.
Interesting.
That stinks. It looks very interesting to me.
And I mean, that kind of makes sense because I've contacted, I forget which company, but there's a company that has the archives of Thames Television, and apparently they have no record of this ever happening whatsoever.
That's weird. Well, this one might be forever gone. It's too bad.
Seems likely, unfortunately.
Hey everyone, Editor Jonathan here. Before we continue, I do want to briefly mention a couple more that we either forgot to talk about or were discovered after we recorded. One was called A Dream of Alice, and that one was from 1982, and all that Sam and Jenna have from that is a cover image of the Radio Times and a clipping of a TV listing. They have no idea what this program was, but they think it might possibly have been some kind of Alice-inspired jazz concert set to illustrations, but there's really almost no info available as to what this thing could possibly have been. The other one was from a Polish TV program called Teatr Telewizji. My apologies to the entire country of Poland for butchering that. I'm sure I did not pronounce it correctly. They have some decent images from that show. Nothing else. There's a good number of images, though, and it looks like it could have been pretty decent. I like most of the costumes that I'm seeing here, aside from one that appears to be a very creepy dormouse. But the rest of them look pretty good. and I hope that ends up being one that we rediscover someday. Stranger things have happened. We'll talk about it briefly later, but back in 2017, I covered a series of Alice-inspired music videos from Ukraine that I found on YouTube, which led to one of my viewers finding the whole movie. So, who knows, maybe something like that could happen again. One of these days I should review that movie. Anyway, that's all I've got on those. Let's move on to the last two versions of Alice in Wonderland that we currently cannot watch, from 1999 and 2004.
Well, from 1973, we're going to jump forward a huge amount because these have all been kind of a few years apart until now. We're jumping all the way to 1999 to something called Alice Underground, which
Yes.
is a trailer, I think. It did not look very good.
This one is not a faithful adaptation, and it was meant to be an experimental film in like still photos.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, not exactly still photos. What's the term? Oh my gosh, help me out. They filmed, but it only like took a few photos.
They used like a still camera and I guess took pictures at certain intervals and turned that into the film.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like a time lapse, but worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
This one is kind of interesting though because it takes place in New York City, and we do have like a Alice asleep at the Alice statue. But yeah, so New York City is supposed to be Wonderland. Alice gets lost, basically. The Cheshire Cat is the seedy bartender who seems to pop up most everywhere.
Right.
He slips a hallucinogen in her drink, so that's great.
Yeah, well.
She meets people who want to help her corrupt her, people who don't really give a damn about her. She'll meet the Mad Hatter, the insane barfly, and his trusted sidekicks. She'll run into the White Rabbit, a call girl, and the Caterpillar is a groovy dude who smokes a hookah on a park bench, and the Tweedles are two escaped cons. So it's, and they all ask her, like, who are you? Oh, and there's a Jabberwock. Alice must ultimately face the Jabberwock, the dragon that stalks her through the village. What village? Confused.
Who knows?
I thought she was in NYC. And then the White Knight appears, and he's a trusty cab driver, and he helps her slay the Jabberwock. So this one, yeah, it doesn't look that great. What is interesting is apparently they were selling this on VHS tape. Their website's still up.
Yeah, they had a website up where you could email them to buy the VHS.
I've never seen a secondhand copy of the VHS tape. So,
me neither. I'm guessing it didn't sell very well.
Yeah. We did find an account linked to them that updated kind of recently. So I did send a comment, and I sent some emails to some email addresses we've found. So we'll see. Probably not, but we'll see. I don't have much else to say about this one, to be honest. Like the screen caps are kind of
Yeah, the only other thing I have to add is that this was shown at like a film festival, and I'm guessing
a few ones.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's kind of why this was made.
It's definitely an art film.
Yeah, it didn't feel like something that would go to like the regular theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I would only be interested in watching just because I like watching versions of Alice. Like if I was looking for a movie to watch, I wouldn't choose this one based on the trailer.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. But as an Alice fan, I would like to see it.
Is this like the first one where the first Alice where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit into something more adult? Because Alice in Wonderland's not until 2009, right? Or something?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
So unless you count like the Spunkmeyer version.
I don't really count that as off the rails. It's technically faithful. But I would say this is probably the first one where they like try to make it more dark, realistic in a gritty way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so every other Alice that has tried that is copied from Alice Underground. They don't even know. All right.
Well, then the last one we have is from 2004.
Oh,
yeah.
This one's a trip.
Yeah, It's called Alice's Misadventures in Wonderland. And this is one that I was looking for like years ago because I saw a trailer somewhere. I don't know where I saw the trailer. I was like, this looks bizarre, but I was still intrigued enough to want to watch it. It doesn't look good, but
it looks pretty bad if you ask me.
but there was
It's more
something about it.
competent than Alice Underground.
Fair point, but that still doesn't make it good.
There was still something about it that made me like, I kind of want to see this just to see what they do. It just looked, I don't know, just weird and different. And the acting didn't even seem that great, but it was just, there were so many things in it that was just like, this is weird, but I kind of want to see it.
So this one, a lot of people want to see it. And I think at some points they were thinking of distributing it. I kind of get that feel from like the website they had, and they put up like a trailer in like 2007, like after they did the film festivals, which makes me think they were thinking of distributing it. But I like this. I don't know. I feel like this one would be interesting to watch. I agree with you. I don't want to say it's bad without seeing the film, but the reviews are not kind.
Yeah, the reviews are really harsh against this one, and I'm guessing that might be why they decided not to release it.
Yeah. Though to be honest, sometimes I do kind of wonder if it's just they don't get it's supposed to be, because it's definitely, I don't know. I definitely get the sense it's kind of like, do you allow cursing on your show?
I can beep it, whatever.
Okay, it's kind of like a post movie. You know, when people like,
oh yeah,
that's the sense I get. I don't think it's supposed to be taken seriously at all. And a lot of these people like mention liking Alice and wanting, being excited to see like a modern version of it.
I mean, just judging by some of these pictures, I kind of agree with you. Like the one with that looks like a boxer guy or something. I don't see how you could take that seriously.
That's Herr Hatter. Hatter is German, I guess. Herr Hatter, and he's in a hot tub. So this is not a serious movie, and you could kind of tell because, like, for instance, okay, the White Rabbit is not called the White Rabbit. His character name is Gas Mask.
Right. And I mean, you see that in the trailer.
There are some interesting character names in the cast list, including Hot Tub Mom, Mumble Mouth, who knows what that is, Suicide Guy, and Suicide Observer.
Yeah, and the suicide ones are kind of interesting if you look at the picture of the castle that we have.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might be the suicide, but there's a lot of observers, so I'm not sure. What's also kind of neat about this castle picture is it's CGI, and it's actually not that bad CGI for a low budget film at the time. Like when I first looked at it, I kind of just like thought it was a real castle before like looking at it.
Same here. You actually kind of have to look at it to see that it's CGI, and it's not bad.
I'm sure in the film it's like not shown that long either. So anyway, it gives me Humpty Dumpty vibes. So I'm kind of wondering. Anyway, so there's weird stuff. It's definitely not meant to be a serious Alice adaptation.
Yeah, but it kind of seems like the people who saw it, and this was another one that was shown at like film festivals. I get the feeling that they didn't really get it.
But at the same time, a lot of them, there was one person who felt like a lot of this was like inside jokes for the crew and cast, which I don't know. There is kind of a question. I do think these people were taking it too seriously, but I do kind of wonder if part of the reason why they were taking it seriously was because it genuinely wasn't funny, unless you were in on the joke.
That could be. I mean, it's hard to tell without actually seeing it, but that might explain things.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I would like to see this. I think it's interesting. And the clips we see of Maggie Henry as Alice, I think she does it well enough. Like, I can't judge her whole performance based on the trailer. She's definitely not the worst Alice I've seen.
Agreed. I think she seems okay in at least the clips we have.
Yeah. I do kind of like that she's in purple.
The one thing that stood out to me with this one is the fact that they had the drag queen of hearts.
Oh, yes.
Oh, right.
And I feel like that seems like something that I can't believe other versions haven't done something like that before.
Yeah, and I actually think, of course, it looks cheesy in the
Yeah.
trailer, but I think it looks like a lot of fun too. Like,
It looks like one of those movies that it's entertaining because it's bad, and
yeah,
that would be a reason to watch it.
That could
Yeah.
be.
I'm gonna go the very light route and say that it was meant to be bad, kind of. I think it's unfair to judge it without seeing it because I'm actually some of the things I have seen about it, I am a little bit impressed. But yeah, it's probably just people didn't get it.
That's kind of the feeling I get just from the reviews. It seems like they were trying to treat it as like a serious film, a serious adaptation, and that's just not what this is. It seems pretty clear that that's not what this is.
Mhm.
Apparently, it was like shown with like another really good film.
That might have been part of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, that said, I'm not saying it's like the best film ever. I haven't seen it. But I
Mhm.
don't think it's as bad. But who knows? Who knows if we'll ever see
Well,
it?
we can't really judge it without seeing it, so
Yeah.
who knows?
I'm sure a lot of Crowleans would hate it, though, if it came out.
The purists
Probably.
certainly would.
Yeah. I think people just need to relax a little bit. But I'm the weird kind of Crowlean who likes faithful things, but I'm also like, yeah, have some fun with it. Do
Uh-huh.
different things.
I mean, I
like,
kind of feel that way too. I don't think an adaptation has to be straight to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, that said, though, there are some playing around adaptations I don't like. Like, I don't like Burton's. But, you know, the fun thing about Alice adaptations is the different take. So I
Yeah.
would like
Mhm.
to see this one. At least the Drag Queen of Hearts looks amazing. We should have more drag queens in Alice.
It just seems like a drag queen of hearts. It just seems like kind of an obvious thing for somebody to do. And when I saw that, I was like, why hasn't somebody else done this?
I mean, that's a good question, and honestly, I'd welcome more portrayals of that.
I'm trying to think if there's been previous Queen of Hearts that were played by men. It's usually the Duchess, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, like the fact that they like called it out, like even if there was, like that could be an interesting thing. But like they called it out as like a drag queen of hearts.
Yeah, it's
It just seems
definitely
like
going
an
full in
obvious
with
thing.
it too. Yeah. Whereas even like when Duchesses were played by men, there were still faithful adaptations. Where this one it's obviously like playing into it. Drag queens are a lot of fun. So I think we should at least get like a clip show of the drag Queen of Hearts. They can at least give us that.
I would like to see that, honestly.
Yeah. And that's all we really have about this one.
This one, I feel like, of all the ones we've talked about, it feels like it's the most likely that we might see it.
It's
Just
definitely,
because-
I think it's the most interesting in a way, besides Through the Crystal Ball, my favorite.
Well, this one is most recent, so I feel like it has the most chance of getting out. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Like maybe they could sell it to a streaming service.
I mean, it definitely exists, and there's probably more than one copy of it, so who knows? It could surface sometime.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't see any harm in putting it out. It's not like they're making any money off of it now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why they haven't. And there are certainly people out there who have been asking for it.
Yeah. The Dark Side of the Mirror is out. This looks way better than that. So
That
I know
is
you haven't
true.
seen it yet, Jonathan. That one's really bad.
Yeah, that one's really bad.
Yeah, and that one was distributed.
We only found out about it recently.
It's streaming. You can watch it streaming. But anyway, it's like so that was really bad. Whereas this one, at least, it looks like it has some value as competent and funny. Definitely the CGI is good for the time and the budget. Going around in circles. I want to see it.
I do too.
Okay, well, that's all we've got for Missing Alice's. There's probably more out there that we don't even know about, but these are the
no question
19 that we know about.
Yeah, because notice it's basically all English ones.
Yeah,
and there's definitely probably been some in other countries we just don't know about them because
no question.
I'm really bad with languages.
Finding out about these things isn't the easiest thing, because usually there's just like, oh, there's a mention in a newspaper or a magazine or something, and that's kind of how we find out about these.
Yeah.
And for other languages, one, we're not looking, but also just the language barrier makes it difficult.
Yeah, sometimes you can just find the most random things. Like back when I first started this, I guess the YouTube algorithm had me figured out, and it gave me these Ukrainian Alice in Wonderland music videos, and I realized that they were from a movie. And eventually, I found the movie. And I think somebody sent it to me because I mentioned it in a video. Like I made a video about these music videos. So there's stuff all over the world.
Is that
we
the
don't know
2014 version?
Yeah.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you, we have that we didn't know about.
Yeah, we didn't even know about that one until you told us about it, and
Yeah.
and then we found a copy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised somebody else had a copy to give you.
Me too.
I think it was on some Russian website. Like I couldn't read the webpage that they sent me.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, you never know what's out there. There's stuff all over the world that we have no idea about.
You also never know what will show up too of the things we do. Like Sam mentioned earlier, people thought 1910 was lost. We thought the 1970 French version. Like I never thought I'd be able to see that one, but we have that one now.
Sometimes all it takes is somebody to go looking for it in the right places.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me. This was a very interesting conversation, full of many rabbit trails and just a lot of interesting things that we can't watch.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone else out there does know something about these adaptations or can help us find anything else, please let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're interested.
Definitely pictures. If you have pictures, I love pictures.
Yes, please.
I want more pictures in 1956. I want more rabbit, more potentially terrifying television rabbit.
I mean, there's cool. Much worse rabbits.
Yeah.
That's true.
That one did not look nearly as bad as some other older, much creepier looking rabbits.
I'm actually impressed at that rabbit.
1931 comes to mind.
Yeah. We're talking about like while we were waiting for you, we're talking about like the worst rabbits, and for me, it's 1931.
I think that's probably my least favorite rabbit as well.
1933 also is pretty bad. He has like black eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I think 1931 is creepier.
Yeah, he is.
Agreed.
Okay, well, that's probably going to be it for this episode. Do you guys want to let people know where they can find you if they want more content, more Alice stuff?
Hello, I am still She Haunts Me Phantomwise. You can find my old Tumblr blog. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but it has hyphens in it. If you search up Phantomwise, you'll get it. And I have a YouTube channel, but I haven't updated it in years. I mostly work with Sam now for his channel, The Curiouser Archive, previously known as Curiouser and Curiouser. And yeah.
Okay, and Sam?
I run the YouTube channel Curiouser Archive. That's kind of where you can find me now. I used to have a Tumblr blog called Curiouser42, but I haven't updated that in years now. So mainly just run the YouTube channel. I post Alice's.
Okay. Well, I will have all that stuff linked in the description for people who want to find it.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us on here.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. We'll have to talk again sometime about some other Alice. There's a few that I would like to get to that I think you guys will be the ones to talk to about.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm up for anything, especially this year.
Okay, well, we'll see you then.
All right.
Thanks to Sam and Jenna for joining me for this episode of Every Version Ever. I'm sure we'll have them back again in the future, but in the meantime, if you want more from them, I'll have their links in the description below. Next week will probably be another classic episode of Wonderland Wednesday, but I have no idea which one it will be quite yet. I made this episode way in advance as I was simultaneously editing it into a mini-series for Wonderland Wednesday over on my main YouTube channel, as well as this episode. This is turning out to be an extremely busy summer for me, so I'm trying to save time where I can. But consequently, I don't know which episode I'll end up using for next week, so I guess you'll just have to be surprised. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Every Version Ever.